Hi, I'm Colin Walls, and as usual, I'm here to talk about embedded software. Today, I want to talk about an interesting phenomenon which occurs amongst creative people. People who create things generally want to do a good job. They want to make the item that they've created as good as possible. The problem with that, or sometimes a problem, is that they never quite finish. They keep working on it. They keep adding functionality, adding features, adding new things to it, trying to make it better each time. Now that doesn't sound such a bad thing to do in life in general, but in an engineering context, that can be quite difficult. Let's think about that in terms of embedded software. And in fact, what I'm going to do is tell you a story, a true story of some events which occurred a few years ago, which demonstrate this phenomenon. This phenomenon, by the way, is called creeping elegance. In other words, a gentle approach towards an elegant solution, which may never be attainable. So, on to our story. Once upon a time, all the best stories start with once upon a time. So, once upon a time, there was this young engineer, and he was assigned an embedded software project. And he was quite excited about it because he had the whole project to do and he had a fairly free hand in how he went about it. And he concluded that what he needed was a multitasking kernel. So, because he didn't really know any better, he sat down and wrote one. It didn't take very long. It's a very simple time-sliced scheduler. He used this in his project. Everything went really well. He was very pleased. His first project done, on time, in budget, sorted. Then the next project came along. And he looked at what he had to do and he realised that a multitasking kernel was just the job. So he took the kernel he created before, he added a bit more functionality to it, he made it that little bit better, used it in his new project. Everything went extremely well again. Great, he was really there. By this point, he was quite pleased with himself. He thought he was really getting to grips with this embedded software. Project number 3 came along. Once again, he looked at what was required, and a multitasking kernel was what he needed. So he took his kernel he produced before, he'd learned some more about how to use a real-time kernel and added some more functionality to make it even better. Used it on his new project, and again, he succeeded. Everything went really great. He was so pleased with himself, he thought he was definitely a really skilled manager-level embedded software engineer now. Now, I don't know about you, but at this point, I actually want this engineer to have a bit of a reality check. Life can't actually be that good for too long. And that's exactly what happened. What happened was the next project was to enhance project number 1. The original project, which had been a year or so beforehand, some new hardware had come along, they needed it modified, they needed some more features added to it. So our hero took a look at the code and was completely mystified. He was mystified because this code used a real-time kernel, which he wasn't quite sure he recognised. Now, how's that? Because he wrote the kernel. Well, the reason was he had enhanced it for the second project, he'd enhanced it for the third project, by which time it was almost unrecognisable. So what he had done is write 3 different kernels in the course of this time. Now, if he had been more enlightened, should we say, he might have looked at the idea of licensing a kernel from a company so that they only had the one kernel. This would have had certain advantages, because when I left the company, I was that young engineer once upon a time. When I left the company, I didn't leave them with a complete mess, because I think the software I wrote was perfectly okay. It was fairly well documented, but nevertheless there were 3 different kernels there. If I'd used a commercial real-time operating system, I would have left software, all of which complied with the same operating system, and there would have been a set of documentation sat on the shelf without me having to write any, which would have been quite nice. So what do you learn from this? You learn from it that creeping elegance is not such a good idea. It can come back and bite you later. So you need to set yourself guidelines as to when you're going to finish a project, and whenever possible, don't create something if you can purchase it off the shelf, because that will solve a lot of problems. Because say a real-time kernel, for example, will have all the functionality you need and some, and you won't have to worry about it being different on each project. So that's today's story. I hope you find that interesting and useful, and look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, bye for now.